So here we're looking at the right rear of the SLK trunk. This is where most of the action is. As you know, you can remove this little access trim panel, which should have a 6mm Allen wrench in it that at some point you need to relieve pressure on the pump, but we'll get to that later. Main thing is, in order to remove the pump or to swap any of the cylinders, you need to get this trim panel out, and in order to remove the left side main lift and left side trunk lid cylinders, you have to get the matching panel out on the other side. We will show you how to remove this trim panel. It's actually quite simple if you know how. There's not that much involved, but let me say this first. When you take this trim panel out, you suddenly have clear access to the trunk lid cylinder, the one that flips back the trunk lid, and having this panel out also helps you with the main lift cylinder. Obviously you need to have it out also when tracing the hoses from the front lock cylinder back to the pump. As I said, taking this trim panel out isn't difficult at all, but it all adds up. The smart thing to do is replace all 5 cylinders at the same time, because you get your hands dirty only once. You remove the same trim panels only once, and everything's taken care of. You don't have to worry which cylinder is going to leak next on my car. So unless you're a used car salesperson that just quickly wants to fix the one immediate thing, best thing is to do this right and replace and upgrade all the cylinders that haven't been replaced before. So to remove this trim panel, we have a bunch of rivet style tabs. Rivet style tabs, I believe there are 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 in the back, 5, 1 up here, 6, 7. Rivet style tabs are very easy to remove. Actually, you pull the middle part out first. You could put a flat screwdriver under it, or you could even catch it with your fingernails. Pull the middle part out first, and then the rest of the tab will come out easily. If it was back in here, after you have the middle part pulled out, the rest of the tab even pulls out with the trim panel. Then we have 2 10mm hex screws that hold the shade. It's not a shade, it's really the ski bag or luggage compartment divider in place. We take out the hex nuts, and this divider will come loose. We can take it out. We'll do that in a moment. We also have to remove 1 4mm Allen bolt over here in this corner, and once this bolt is out, we also have the rubber bumper here that the top lands on. That attaches this panel to the car's frame as well. Take out this rubber bumper, and as the next trick, we will be flipping back the trunk lid so that we can pull out this panel. In order to pull back the trunk lid, we have to use a 6mm Allen wrench, just as I showed you a moment ago, and turn this brass colored pressure relief valve on the pump. You don't have to turn it very far. A half a turn is totally sufficient. When this relief valve is open, that allows us to manually pull actuate the trunk lid cylinders. You can theoretically manually pull the main part of the hardtop without opening this valve, but it makes the job a lot easier to have this valve open. So again, it's only the brass colored 6mm Allen bolts that you need to open here. Now the next step to pulling back the trunk lid is to find the steel cable that releases the forward latches of the trunk lid. It's kind of like a seatbelt buckle, how it clicks in here when the trunk lid frame is pushed forward. When you pull this cable and you pull hard enough on it, you feel the release. It was already unlocked, so I couldn't demonstrate the click to you, but you pull hard enough on this. Do the same on the other side. You can simply pull the trunk frame up and backwards. We'll show you that in the next shot. And just for completeness, on this other side, on the left side, in order to get access to the steel cable, you have to pull some riveted tabs again to pull the access panel, and you will see a cable just like this one hiding up there in the wiring harness. And one more thing for completeness, if you see yellow wires around here that I have just moved to the side, those are actually related to the CD player. It's a fiber optic cable. If you still have a CD player in your car that would be mounted over here, you would have to remove it first. It's easy to unbolt and unplug the harness in here and take it out. So first we take this divider out. In order to take this divider out, we have removed the 2 hex bolts as described before. We're pushing it forward and it will come out of the trim just like that. Take out this divider. You see here the cable for the left side trunk release and the panel that we took off. Here's the panel for the right side. Now we may as well take out this carpet piece on the bottom so we don't get it dirty later on. Now we have opened the pressure relief valve, half turn or a full turn. We are pulling the cable to release the lock on the right side. We have loosened that up already. Now we'll pull the cable for the and these shocks are a little bit weak. That's why the trunk lid came down, so be a little bit careful about that. I will simply hold this up with my thumb. I have pulled this cable, pulled up on this end. Now that both of these locks are released, we can actually close the trunk lid in the rear the way you normally close it, and pull up on the trunk lid, pull it back. Now this moves a little bit slower than it normally would because we are not as strong as the hydraulic pump. The smart way to do it is either to have 2 people pulling, or you just pull from the middle until this trunk lid has flipped back all the way. Likely if I had opened the valve more than just a turn, this would move a little bit faster. But you do want to remember that you're pulling a lot of hydraulic fluid through these tiny hoses, so our little bodies are doing the work that normally a powerful pump would do. Now that we have this trunk lid back, we'll change our perspective and I'll show you how easy it is to take the trim panel on the side out. We have just pulled the trunk lid backwards and then closed the pressure relief valve that prevents the trunk lid from slowly falling back in, which it normally shouldn't, but we want to make sure we don't get things in our way here. So next thing is, you see the rear part of this trim panel can be pulled out from behind the rear trim panel, and that is all loose at this point. And the top part of this trim panel is held in place by the weather stripping around the trunk lid. So we pull the weather stripping from here to here up a little bit, and that will free up our panel. You see that there's a cut in this panel, that's where it comes apart. We actually pull this weather stripping all the way up to the corner. That leaves us a little bit more room to pull up over here, and here goes our panel. One last step is the micro switch for the luggage divider has an electrical cable connector going to it, and that one, either if you're strong you can pull it down by hand, or you take a flat screwdriver stick it in between this cable and the switch assembly itself, and I'll have to disappear here for a second so I can see what I'm doing. Here we go. This is a friction fit connector. You just put a flat screwdriver between it and the switch, turn, and the connector comes out. Now the panel is free to be taken out, and you can see the pump in all its glory. We do the same thing on the other side, only on the other side there is not an electrical connector, so the left side is a tad easier to remove than the right side, but it's basically completely identical. I got ahead of myself a little bit when I said that the left trunk lid panel can be removed same as the right one. In order to get the left one out, we actually have to take this rear trim panel out. It's fastened on the bottom with 3 rivet style tabs that we've already taken out, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these square tabs in here that are simply pulled out by hooking a screwdriver under them and pulling them out. Let me show you again over here. Hook your small flat screwdriver in here, pull out the tab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and we can now pull this trim panel. Note one thing, there is a light in here. This light is removable by pushing out the top first, and then we can squeeze it through the hole here, or we could have disconnected the electrical connection on it and left the light in the trim panel. Either way works. Now we can remove this left trunk lid panel the way it was described before, and next we will remove the carpeted panel all the way in the front. So the left trunk panel has been removed. Now we're down to removing the carpeted piece in the front. Really easy. We have 2 10mm plastic hex nuts that we've loosened already. Take those 2 plastic nuts off and pull this panel, and you see how the hoses are routed from the left side. This is the left side trunk lid hose pair and left side main lift cylinder hose pair, simply secured in these rails, and that's the way you want to take them out and reroute them. Before we take things apart, if you're going to remove the main lift cylinders that are located roughly around here behind the fenders, of course, it is helpful to have the side windows down. The best way to get the side windows down is pulling the top button back as if to open the top so that the side windows come down. And there we go. In this position, it's a little bit easier to deal with the trim around the main lift cylinders.